Dr. Tim Huelskamp, Ph.D., is the president and CEO of the Heartland Institute, a national free market think tank based in suburban Chicago. A former member of Congress, Dr. Huelskamp led the Tea Party wave to Washington in 2010 and served 3 terms without once voting for a tax hike. Tim, let me ask you this question. We've spoken about cutting taxes. What about cutting the Internal Revenue Service?
Yeah. There you go. That's the best idea I've heard. And serving in Congress and watching what Lois Lerner and crowd did. They misused. They took the IRS and weaponized it against conservatives. And whether it's weaponized against us, whether it's weaponized against libertarians or liberals, that's exactly what is wrong with government. So hacking their budget, reducing their staff, having them actually have people on the phone who can answer the questions. You know, my dad used to say, lay half of them off and put the other half to work. And that would be a great answer to the IRS. But there is no excuse for not prosecuting those that were misusing the IRS. That's a scandal. Those folks should go to jail. They should lose their pension. And if you have to change the law, so be it.
Here's one message I would suggest to the left and to the media to say, the science debate is over and we won. We won. There's no scientific consensus that the world's going to end. We won that debate. Actually, there's a lot of scientific consensus you heard today that CO2 is a positive thing.
At Heartland Institute, we work in all 50 states, and for years it's been a frustration to us that your federal government was paying for and encouraging high state and local taxes. And hopefully we're making some progress. We did enter the tax bill to push back on that. But let's roll back the last time we had a leader in the White House who pushed through a tax cut, and that was Ronald Reagan. And don't forget, many state and local units used that opportunity to raise taxes at that time. And so that's part of the action plan. We need to focus at the state level and push back on any of the politicians of either party, particularly our party, and say no new taxes because of what's going on in Washington, D.C.
The green is about the red. And what do we mean here is that it's about control. It's about running our lives. And if they can control our energy, if they can control our power sources and make us pay more, they can just control our lives. And that is their ultimate goal.
I think it's tremendous. I think it's huge. And look at where we're at. The EU and our competitive countries internationally think it's a bad tax bill, which is a good sign. Nancy Pelosi thinks it's a bad tax bill, which is a very good sign. And American workers really, really like the tax bonuses, which is a very, very good sign. And this is incredible. I think it's going to have incredible impacts on the economy, but we have some more work to do. The IRS is still there. It's still impacting the lives, particularly of entrepreneurs. So we can talk about that later, but this is probably the best thing Congress will ever get done in our lifetimes. I don't expect much more, but it's exactly what the economy needed.
2 times in my life, once when I was 2 years old and once when I was 48 years old, the federal government declared war on one thing. 1971, they declared war on cancer. President Nixon declared war on cancer. In 2016, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and the Congress at the time declared war on, what did they declare war on? Cancer again. I would offer, when you have 600,000 Americans still dying for cancer, ladies and gentlemen, we've lost that war. We need to look at other alternatives.
Well, I mentioned 2 action items. One is don't let the state and local governments take this tax cut away by raising your taxes there. We have to be vigilant, number 1. And number 2, we need the Congress and the administration to stop listening to the tax lobbyists and the folks that are promoting complexities in the tax code and push back on that. And that can happen. The Congress will be voting on those things. They probably won't be voting on another tax code. But to me, the biggest lesson to learn is a historical lesson. You have to look back about 30 years. But the only reason these tax cuts were possible wasn't only because we had a Republican House and Senate. That was obviously very helpful. But you had to have Donald J. Trump win the last election to make this happen. So thank you to the president for making tax cuts happen.